We begin the final daf, Masechta Nazir Daf Samach Vav. We begin on the bottom of Samachim Beis. We begin on the bottom Mishnah, continuing on this theme regarding Regulamler Dover, regarding what are the indicating factors that would tell me that what's the status of this next thing. Which corresponds to Bekazich and Cheskel, turn to Tafachem, going to today's daf. So I'm discussing today's daf are the Mishnah's halacha b'shiva drachim b'itkimis azav, that the 7 ways to inspect a zav, achle niskik leziva, if he didn't yet have ziva, to check to say what is he having this discharge from that's being caused through an einus. But Mishnah niskik leziva already had ziva, then we don't check him because we're going to say that it's going to have a tuma anyway. Which the Gemara brings a machlokes between Rebbe and the Chacham whether there's a chi bedika for the re'iyah shlishis, meaning all agree there's no chi bedika for the first re'iyah, for the first discharge. There is a chi bedika for the re'iyah shniya because we have to check to see was it ba'inus or was it from your own flesh. But the machlokes is regarding the re'iyah shlishis. Machlokes is regarding also shechva zera shel zav. When the zav, who has a certain tumah because there was a certain type of discharge out of his body, then when he has semen, is that metama b'masa? I mean, they all agree shechva zera b'tar person only metama b'maga, through touch. Machlokes is regarding, but when you have semen from a zav, if that's going to be tama even through carrying and not just through touch. The rest of machlokes is regarding hamakes chaveira, if someone hits his friend, and they amdula misa, they say he's going to die. Then he actually looks like he's getting better, and then and then he ultimately dies. Are you going to be liable for killing him or not? And the last discussion in the Gemara is who's greater, the Mavarach or Oina Amin. Some of the important terms in the Gemara's Daf today is the Tumah Zav regarding this halacha of the Tumah of the Zav. So we begin the current Daf, the bottom of Samachim Beis, where we continue with this theme of Regulamler Dover, which was the theme of the previous Mishnah, regarding saying, okay, well, what you tummy up until now, so then we'll presume that you are tummy, you in the suffix, or what you tar, we'll presume that you're tar. So a similar theme is this next Mishnah. There's 7 ways that you expect a zav, meaning to say the reason why you're inspecting him is because if he had the discharge because of einus, because some external reason is causing him to have this discharge, it's actually tar, because we have a drasha what says mibisare, has to come from his flesh, and not because of ansai. So therefore, if it's coming because of ansai, that's the extra word of mibisare, so therefore you only metam bezav when it's naturally. But if it's being caused by some extrinsic cause, so then we're going to check out to see, as the Mishnah says, only if he hasn't yet had a status of ziva, like for example by the first discharge or possibly by the second one. So what are these 7 ways that you check him out to see what was extrinsic? Are the following things: b'machal, with certain foods, or b'mishta, with certain type of drinking that, whether it be excessive or certain types, could cause a person to have a discharge from his genital area, b'kfitza, by jumping, by b'masa, by carrying certain loads, or b'kfitza, by jumping, or b'chayla, certain sickness, or b'mara, or regarding what he sees, because if he sees a man and woman mating, so it sounds like from the Mishnah Masechta Zav, that Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. He says even if you see animals mating, that it could cause a person to have certain thoughts and then cause them to have a discharge. Ubahira, of course, are having illicit certain thoughts. So those are 7 ways that it could cause him to have a discharge. That would be considered as ziva ba'inus, because it's extrinsically a cause, and therefore actually would not make him tummy. But, says the Mishnah, niskak leziva, but when he already had seen a discharge prior, and, for example, like by the 3rd discharge, according to Rabbanan, that they hold your chayav of carbon already, or according to Rebbe Laza, that we're going to see shortly, that would be on the 4th time, then then we don't check him out because this whole halacha of besachai v'lei machmas eintzai is only going on, according to Rabbanan, the 2nd one, or according to Rabbi Laza, on the 3rd one. But when it's already on the 3rd or the 4th one, so then it doesn't make a difference if it's ba'inus, because as the Mishnah says, ansai, even if it was forced, v'sveikai, or a doubt, or v'shich v'zara, or the semen of a zav, these are all going to be tameim because Regulamler Dover, because there's already indicating features like that this is being caused from previously. Now, like for example, food and drink and all these 7 things that they're margul a ziva, it's going to be tummy. Once you're niskik l'tumah, you're already going to be considered tummy. I don't care if it's being caused by some extrinsic cause, because even ba'inus, you are going to have a tumah on that 3rd or 4th time, as we're going to shortly explain. So too continues the Mishnah. A similar theme is hamakes chaveroi. If someone hits his friend, b'mdula misa, and they evaluate, okay, this guy's going to die, and therefore this guy's liable for killing him, but then the condition gets much better. Then he gets worse and he dies. So Tanakh says chayv for killing him. And the Yomi says no, pot is pot because Regulamler Dover, again because there's indicating features that this sick person died by himself because his condition had gotten better. And again, as Tais explained, since we spoke about Regulamler Dover beforehand, so we pick up about also over here, even though it really has no application over here in our Masechta. Says the Gemara, from where do we know that, as the Rosh explains, that the third discharge does not require bedika, meaning to say that it's going to be mitame even ba'inus. Because again, the second discharge we said that there's a drasha of bibsarai, has to be from yourself and not machmazan, so that we check you out with 7 different ways. So where do we know that this final one, let's say, you don't have to check? So Amr Nasnei says, because Amr the Pasuk says about Yikra, vazav es zoivoi. It says that if the man's going to have his discharge, it says la zachar b'lanakeva, for the man or for the woman. Now, if you count up the words, Vahazav is the first discharge, Ezayvai is the second discharge, and Lazach Lekeva is by the third discharge, where we're having that L'Re'iyah Shlishis Iskish Lekeva. By the third discharge, you're comparing the male to the female. Now, a female is Matama, if she has Dam, it doesn't make a difference, Ba'inus Baratzin. It's even Ba'inus. So you see that by the third discharge, yeah, it's going to be even. If it's Ba'inus, it's going to be considered as a Zav. Now, and again, there's different statuses. The first discharge of a ziva, it makes you like a balkari. Second discharge makes you tummy for 7 days. The third discharge makes you tummy and you have to bring a carbon. We're just saying that the second discharge you have to check to see, was it ba'insay, was it not? It has to be mibisach. The third one, no. It's already going to be tummy even ba'inis. I says, the Bryce of Beloza, says, Bashlish is actually the third one you do check him out. And B'Revi is and the fourth one you don't check him out. So really the Gemara's question is, what's the reason of Belaza, who doesn't say the drasha we just said? I thought we just wrote a drasha that shows the third one. You don't have to check because it's betam even ba'inus. Says the Gemara, Ela be'esem kemevli. They disagree regarding the word es. Rabbi Elazar Darsh es to me expounds the word es, so the calculation comes out differently. Hazav is 1, es is 2, zoivai is 3, and by the fourth one, when you say lazachar, that we're comparing to the nekeva, which the Gemara in Daf Yomi explains this even better. But Abban like darshan es, and they don't darshan es. So therefore, that's the difference. Is it number 3 or number 4? And then we're comparing to the nekeva to say there's mitam ba'inus or not. Now the Mishnah had said that when it comes to the third time, then his einus or his suffix is going to be mitame by the zav. So on that, the Gemara continues and says that Amar Rabbi says, don't say, when we're saying sveika, it means suffix chaza, suffix lechaza, like we're not sure, did he see, did he not see? No, we're talking about where he did see. But what's our suffix? Suffix machmas shichva zera. We're not sure, was it because of semen? Suffix machmas re'iyah, we're not sure, was it because of a discharge? And that's what it's saying, once you already had been a zav, you already saw it 2 times, then sveikai tame, then the doubt is going to be considered as tame, which the explains, like the Gemara says in Daf Yomi, that when you have a ziva that has in its shichva zera, it actually is only seisa 1 day. Ziva that does not have any semen in there actually seisa 7 days. So Rava is talking about where the person checks himself and he finds semen, and he also finds ziva on the garment. Now you don't know if the ziva came by itself, and the shechva zera came by itself, and there would be 6 or 7 days, or was there some semen in the ziva, and there would only be 6 or 1 day? That's what Rav is saying, that sveikai is going to be tamei, because since you're niskek lo tamei, Regulamler Dover, that you are tamei, and therefore we're going to presume that the ziva came separately than the shechva zera. Although they're both coming out of the male organ, they're different types of fluids, and we're saying that it didn't come together, and therefore it's going to be so not just 1 day, but 7 days from your shiv and the kim, which you have to count when you already had 2 discharges of ziva. Now, then the Mishnah had said, the third item, we spoke about oinsai. We said that that oinis is also going to be, because once you're niskik latum, we spoke about tzveika, and the third one was shichva zara. Those are the 3 examples we gave in the Mishnah, that's going to be tameya once you were niskak laziva. Once you already had a ziva discharge, so then your semen is also going to be tamei. So wait a second, Lamai, what are you talking about when you're saying the shechva zera is going to be tamei? If you think to tell me that once you were tamei, so then the shechva zera is going to be tamei by touch, obviously. Migaram is shechva zera the tar. You think it's any different, any less than the semen of a tar person? Even if you never had the tam of ziva, the semen of a tar person is matama, like the Torah says. No, elazare shel zav mitame b'masa. Rather, what are we saying? that the shechva zera of a zav actually contaminates by even carrying, because a regular tar person is not matama b'masa. But when you're niskak l'tumah, then it's matama even b'masa. Says Man Shama Lahada Amar, who is this that says this halacha that you're telling me that shechva zera shel zav, the semen of a zav, is matama b'masa, not just by maga, but even by carrying? Ilem haitam the Tana. So the Gemara goes through attempts to try to find who's the Tana. Everything to tell me that it's the Tana that we learned in the following brisa. Rabbi Eliezer, he says shechva zera shel zav, the semen of a zav, ain't a matama b'masa, does not contaminate when you're carrying it. But Rabbi Shua Omer, and this you think is the Tana, matama b'masa, he says it is matama by carrying. You see a zav, his shechva zera is matama by masa, and he says why? It's not possible when he's letting out some semen. It's not possible that some ziva didn't come out. So therefore, it has ziva. Ziva is matama b'masa. So even the shechva zera is matama b'masa too. Says the Gemara, wait a second, he cannot be the Tana of our Mishnah, because I feel even he who says that the shechva zera of a zav matama b'masa is el mishum tzachzuchi ziva. It's only because you say, must have some sprinkling of the ziva discharge inside of it. Al pe'enei lo yomar. But if you just had pure semen, you wouldn't say that. And as Taisa explains, the Mishnah makes it sound like that shechva zera is matama b'masa even just by itself, without some ziva inside of it. So he cannot be the Tana. So Elam Rav Abba says, Loimet to say actually different pshat. That actually, what does our Mishnah mean to say that the shechva zera is tameya? It means to say she'ein toilim ba. What does that mean to say? The Mishnah Masechet Zavin teaches that if someone sees keri, he's not matama beziva for the next 24 hours. Why not? What shaykh says? Why can't I have a tama ziva? Because the keri exempts the ziva that comes after it for the next 24 hours. That's the halacha. Now, but what our Mishnah is coming to say, but when you're in niskak l'tuma, when you already had a ziva discharge before, then when you have shechva zera after that, it's not going to exempt the ziva that comes after that. When our Mishnah is saying shechva zera tameya, all that means to say is that don't think that the semen is going to go ahead and exempt the ziva that comes after that. It is going to be matami, not because of shechva zera, but because of the ziva. So a very different way of reading the words of the Mishnah, coming to say that don't be toila in the shechva zera to say that the ziva that comes in the next 24 hours is not going to have the halach of ziva. No, it will have the halach of ziva.
So what's the space of time that's...
We're saying 24 hours. If next 24 hours, it's not going to have a tom of ziva. When you already had ziva and then you have shechva zera, you will have the tom of ziva because you're already niskal tuma. So says the Gemara, Savra Papa kamed the Rava lamemer. Papa thought to say in front of Rava in explaining this halacha, he says, I did the chulshu the chazi. In other words, the reason why we generally say that keri exempts the ziva that comes after it for the next 24 hours is because you have to be concerned that maybe the reason why he had the ziva was because of his weakness, that he got emptied out from the shechva zera, so it's weak, and now the body's doing different things, and you're going to call it not qualified because the Torah says mibisara and it cannot come from einsai. But what Ravada was coming to tell us was when you're niskak l'tumah, and Einus doesn't exempt you. And that's the reason Ravada Bahava. So really, Rav Papa was building on Ravada, thinking to say, I'll explain you what the halacha normally is and why here it's different. On that, Rabbi says to him, no, can't be. Because Latnan, we learned the Mishnah in Mesechtes Zavim that says, Gershon is Ger. If you have a Ger that converts, and he saw Keri before he converted, he becomes a Ger, and then right after he becomes a Ger, he sees a Ziva discharge. Says the Mishnah, Mitamid Miyad Beziva. He right was going to have the halacha of Tumah Ziva, and the Keri that he had before he was Magayer is not going to exempt the Ziva that he has afterwards. Now the problem is, if you hold like Ravada and Rav Papa, that the reason of Keri exempting the Ziva that comes after it is because of weakness, so why don't you say the same thing by Ger too? And as the Girsa takes out the word Omalei, it's like it should say, there's no greater sick person than this. In other words, just like we say that we check to see that you'll be exempt if you check and you had Keri beforehand, so what do I care if he saw Keri when he was a non-Jew? What do I say Keri when he was a Jew? I thought you told me the reason is because it weakens him. And therefore the Ziva that comes in the next 24 hours has no validity. So you only tell me here when he was already tummy, so therefore Einsai, I don't care about Einsai, but here is Einis. So why would a Ger become Tumah Ziva? So Eli rather says the Gemara Tanoi. In other words, as Taisa explains, Rav Adar and Rav Papa is not true. Most definitely the reason of Keri that it exempts the ziva that comes after it is not because of weakness. It says Taisus, it's a gezeras hakasav. Because we darshan from the Sefri, it says, there's going to be in the evening, he's going to wash himself in the water, he's going to go to the mikvah, teach you that a keri poitas the ziva for the next 24 hours. Gezeras hakasav. And if it doesn't make a difference if it's niskak or loy niskak, we would say that keri would pata the ziva that comes afterward for the next 24 hours. And the shechva zera of our Mishnah is not talking about, as we had just interpreted with Ada regarding ziva, as Ravada says. Rather, it's like we originally said, that it's regarding the Tumah of Masa. And this is a machlokes Tanoim, as the Gemara says, the time like learn the Brisa. In other words, yeah, it is back to our original interpretation of Masa, but it's not Rabbi Yeshua that we thought it's going to be, because we had a question on that. We said, Rabbi Yeshua, he's only because of Tzchuch Ziva inside of it. Shech V'zer not Matama. No, it's not Rabbi Yeshua. I'll bring you someone else. And I'll show you that it's regarding Tumas Masa, that yes, the Shech V'zer of a Zav is Matama b'Masa. Because the time learn the Brisa. Shech V'zer shel Zav, in other words, when he sees Keri within 24 hours from when he saw Ziva, Matama b'Masa, kol me es li es. It's going to be Matama b'Masa for the next 24 hours. So you see clearly this halacha of Tumas Masa from the Keri itself, from the Shech V'Zera, which Tosfos wonders, why didn't you bring a Mishnah Masechtas Kalim that says the Reikish Shel Zav and Shech V'Zera is Matama b'Masa? Why do you have to come into this town over here? Says Tosfos, no, because our Mishnah is Tumah because of Regulamler Dover. It has to be Shech V'Zera that you saw near the Ziva. So therefore that's this type of Tana that you saw within 24 hours. That Tana that you bring over there says in general. So that wouldn't be the indicator of our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is trying to come from the point of Regulamler Dover. Regulamler Dover is, wait, we just saw Ziva, and now you're seeing Shech V'Zera. Okay, it's going to have a stronger Tumah, which is going to be Tumah of Masa Me'es Li'es. Now, Rabbi Yisrael, the is a machlokes. He says that no, it's actually only Yomei. It's only mitame for that day itself when he had the discharge. So, and that says the Gemara, what are they disagreeing about? But the Shmuel, because the Shmuel Rami, he actually says a contradiction. Sivan, the one that has a person in the Ram that says, you can have a person that's not meaning that it was a Zav, and he's going to have a Mikri, Laila. In other words, if he saw a Keri within a 24-hour period after he saw his Ziva discharge, so the halach is going to be that he's going to be Mitame, a Tumas Masa for his Keri. Now, that's one pasuk. Except there's a pasuk later that says, Lifnais Erev Yichas B'mayim. Towards evening, he's going to go to the mikveh. Meaning, even after the evening has passed, meaning up until a 24-hour period, like the Sifri says, sounds like it's going to be a 24-hour period. So that's what the Gemara says. That's the machlekes. Manda Meisle is the one that says a 24-hour period. Meaning the Tanna Kama says the Shech V'Zera has Tumah Masa, but 24 hours later, Daik Lifnais Erev. He's being daik from that towards the evening that he's still going to be considered as Tameh for 24 hours. Vidach Daik Mikri Lai. The other one's Medaik that it's something that happened at nighttime, that it's only for that day itself, but it's not for a 24-hour period. So says the Gemara, Mandam Lifnais Erev, according to one learns from the Erev, Haksiv Mikri Laila. What does he do with that pasuk that sounds like that up until nighttime it's going to be Tameh Masa like Ziva, which is for the daytime? So I'm like, the Keri Lamasi Bala, that's just telling me that's normal to have Keri at nighttime, and therefore that's what it says there, but it's really not based on that pasuk. And Tosfos says the other man, the Amar, he darshans Lifnais Erev, like the Sifri brings, that Keri point to Ziva Shalachreya Kol Meis Le'es. In other words, basically you have one pasuk sounding 24 hours, one 12 hours, meaning the one saying the day, and that's what it's saying that each one is dashing from one of the psukim, and the other one he used to teach me something else. The final Mishnah in the Masechta says Nazir HaYishmul. Shmuel Hanavi was a Nazir. Kedivir Reb Nerai, like the words of Reb Nerai. Kishanim, it says a pasuk in Shmuel Alf. It says Umoyra lo yala reishay, that Moira was not on his head. Now, what does that mean? So Neba b'Shimshon, by Shimshon, who we know Shimshon Agiba was a Nazir. Pasuk says in Shaftim Umoyra. It says also by him lo yala reishay, should not go on his head. But then Mishmula Moira, it says also Moira didn't go on his head. Ma Moira Moira Shimshon Nazir, just like by Moira that was says regarding Shimshon, was that he was a Nazir, like we know he was Nazir, like Kim, Yer, Narman, Abetni, he was always a Nazir, and Moira means like no razor should go on his head. Av Moira Moira B'Shmuel Nazir. But Amr Rabbi Yisi disagrees with him, and we'll see the same two Tanaim in the Gemara in an unrelated teaching. That's why we quote that in the Gemara. Amr Rabbi Yisi says, no, when it says that means fear. It means to say that there was no fear of a human being on his head. That doesn't mean like a razor. Amar Ibn Arai says, no, he can't say that because it already says in the pasuk that he did fear people. But Yem Shmuel says, Tashem Eichelech V'Sham Shmuel Bargoni. How could I go and Shaul's going to hear he's going to kill me? Shekvar Hoyulav Moira Shel Basavnam. So you can't say that he didn't have Moira means fear. Means Moira must mean like a razor, and therefore we know that he was also Shmuel was a Nazir just like Shimshon. Now the Gemara ends off with an unrelated teaching, but it's the same Tanoim. Rav says to his son Chia, as he continues with Beis, says Chatoif ubarach, grab and make a bracha. Meaning you go ahead, you be the one to make the bracha. So you gain, and you were the first one, and you went, and let's say you daven for the Amid, you made the bracha. Rav Huna said to his son, Rabba Chatoif ubarach, grab and make the bracha. Says Gemara, remember the Mavarach. Otherwise, that's to say the one who makes the bracha is better. But by the time the Brayso Rabbi Yisi, we just mentioned in the Mishnah, says God lo'ino amin Yosem Mavarach. The one who answers amin is greater than the one who makes the bracha. So why would you make the bracha? Be the one to answer. Rabbi said to him, Hashemayim kachu, you're right, and from in heaven, swearing that that's the way it is. You have the foot soldiers, they fight the war. The mighty ones, meaning the officers that come afterwards, like the victory is called on them, meaning the ones who finish it off. So the Amin is the one who finishes it off. You see, the one who answers Amin is greater than the one who makes the bracha. So why these Amiram telling their sons to make the bracha? So the Gemara Tanoi, it's Machal Yistan, like learn the Brisa. When we learn the pasuk that says God Lashem Itin Remesh Mayachtav, both are being indicated. The one who's making the bracha and the one who's responding, both of them are included that they take reward. But they're quicker to give the reward to the one who makes the bracha first, to give him reward because Lamaisa Gadlu is mentioned first in the pasuk. God Lashem Iti is the one who makes the bracha, and the Remesh Mayachtav is the one who's answering Amen. And therefore they told their sons to grab and to make a bracha. And the Masechta ends off, like we know the pasuk says Benayach. Those are the Masechtas of the Beis Nun Yud Chaf, the Masechtas that end off with this teaching, which the Nun is Nazir over here. We already had with brachas, and this is with Nazir, and then you have Yivamis, and you have Ksubas. Amr Belaza, Amr Chanina, or Krisis, says Tamid Chacham Mishal Ma'ilam. Tamid Chacham, they increase peace in the world. Shalom says Boston Yeshai B'chol Benayach, and all your sons Limudei Hashem, they are students of Hashem. Those are the Tamid Chachamim. The Rav Shalom. And the abundance of peace, so we see their increased peace. Your sons had Hakud Mel Nazir. Shall turn to the 9th parak Masechtas Nazir Hakud Nazir, which speaks a lot about the halachas of Tumah Ta'ara. With Slika Allah Masechtas Nazir, we have concluded Masechtas Nazir. Hanulach Mazel Tov.